Elliot, what happened in the Supreme Court arguments today? Like, what are the main takeaways from what we heard from both the judges and the lawyers from both sides?
Well, it was a very important argument in the Supreme Court today. This is the same court that not too long ago eliminated the constitutional right to choose by overturning Roe versus Wade. And now they're being asked to go even farther and to ban the use of the oral abortion drug mifepristone, even though it's been approved for more than 20 years by the FDA, which found it both safe and effective. There is some reason for cautious optimism today because some of those same right-wing justices that voted to overturn Roe versus Wade expressed concern about whether there is in fact standing or real injury by the right-wing doctors and organizations that filed this lawsuit to get the kind of nationwide ban that they're looking for in this case.
And this court has historically not liked nationwide bans, right? Like, they kind of have a history of pushing back on those.
There is growing concern among, frankly, both progressives and conservatives about single district judges, as happened in this case, issuing nationwide injunctions for or against certain kinds of items. And Justice Gorsuch expressed some specific concern about that in this case.
And Marge, I want to hop to you because you were actually outside the court this morning.
Yes.
Can you tell us what it was like to be there and be kind of with the people who were there for reproductive justice this morning?
It was so energizing. It was so exciting to be part of this huge crowd. I mean, it was overflowing into the streets. They were waving a banner, a amicus petition banner that individual signed, and it was like 170 feet long with the names of people. They couldn't even get all the names on that. And that was that they were parading that through the street. The crowd was energizing. It was an incredibly diverse crowd of people supporting abortion freedom and at the top of their lungs. And we clearly were louder than the opposition that was there. The anti-abortion folks was just super energizing to be there. And I have to say, folks understood how we got here. Folks understood the city wasn't happening by accident. But the far right has had an agenda to undermine the attack and abolish abortion freedom for years. They worked hard to get lower court district judges like Nat Kazner on bench and issued the initial order. They would try to keep circuit courts that were far right, that they would support what the lower court judges did, and they have a Supreme Court that is hostile to abortion freedom. We know that. And so this didn't happen by accident. There was a lot of sophistication in the crowd about how we got here.
That sounds amazing. I could have been there with you this morning. That sounds so cool. I know, just looking at all of the footage online, it seems like everyone was just in it and were really there. And speaking of online, we've seen over, really since Roe was overturned, but even before, people who need abortion access coming to social media platforms, really telling their stories of what it means to them to be able to control their own bodies and why it's so critical. Were you hearing those kind of stories outside the court today?
Absolutely. And the stories were incredible, really powerful. But people talking about their own choices about accessing abortion that was necessary to them, either medically or because of a matter of their family balance and needing to be able to move forward with their lives. And one thing that struck me, every person who got up to do that said, I shouldn't have to be doing this. I shouldn't have to be justifying a decision that I made that was by me and my family and my doctor. And it was really, really powerful. And then the other people whose witnessing was so important were the abortion providers. Abortion providers who every day, to a certain extent, put themselves on the line to be able to provide the services, whether they're doctors or nurses, to be able to make sure that people have access to the abortion care that they need. And this wasn't talking heads talking at you.
These were people with the lived experiences that were so important to help everybody understand why what the parties were trying to bring to the court and have the court move on was so dangerous to them and to their well-being.
Yeah, I mean, what's really at the heart of all of these reproductive rights cases, why we're showing up to the court, why we're fighting so hard, is like doctors want to do their jobs, and like we just want control over our own bodies. And it's honestly, when you strip away all the legal arguments, it's really that simple.
That's right. Medical practitioners want to be able to provide to do what they're trained to do and serve people and meet their needs. And people who for whatever reason in their lives need or want an abortion should be able to have that freedom.
Absolutely. And speaking of being able to access abortion care, Elliot, let's be optimists for just a second. Let's assume the Supreme Court does the right thing and, we get a good outcome out of this case. Obviously, we're not in the clear for abortion access, right? So, like, what does the landscape look like even if we get a good decision?
Well, there are several potential dangers. First of all, if the court rejects this case because these plaintiffs don't have standing, right-wing forces could try to dissect that opinion and find someone who does have standing to file a lawsuit. More importantly, if Donald Trump is reelected president in November, he could change the FDA just like he changed the Supreme Court. And the FDA could decide to ban the abortion pill again. So there is definitely danger ahead and reason for people to remain very involved.
I'm clinging to that optimism, but it is real hard when you hear things like that. But like, Marge, for those of us who are kind of in this fight and ready but kind of scared, like what can we be doing now to protect access to abortion access and reproductive health care in general?
Just immediately, we can make sure that the local courts are filled with judges who understand and support the fundamental rights of all of us, and not just the sort of the powerful and the wealthy. It's like really, really important. One thing that was very obvious to me is that everybody at this rally today knew who Matthew Kaczmarek was, the lower court judge who imposed this regime on us that we're now trying to undo. So fill those vacancies with fair-minded judges who are committed to everybody's well-being, committed to the rights of all of us and freedoms of all of us, not just the powerful and the privileged. And secondly, vote. Vote, 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 like everything depends on it, because it does. With voting up and down the ticket, we will have legislators who can enact legislation to protect us, and we will have senators who will be able to continue populating the courts with fair-minded judges. We will have senators and House members who can vote for national abortion freedom protections, and we will have a president who wouldn't undermine the FDA and every other regulatory agency that has some ability to impose on our rights and freedoms. So vote.